Welcome to the TalkCondo Release Radar. I am Roy Bhandari and I'm joined today by Mike Santos and Amit Bhandari, and we're going to talk about a very, very special condominium called Sugar Wharf Condominiums. And more specifically, we're going to talk about the 5 reasons that we're excited about this condominium. And we get excited about a lot of condominiums. We like to talk about condos. And the reason we get excited is because we work with a lot of investors. And we get excited because we get to bring condos that we believe our investors are going to do very well with. And this one checks so many boxes. There's a lot of savvy condominium investors out there. And they already know that when they see a Menkes condo, downtown core, master plan community, they automatically check all those boxes. But for those that are not as tuned in as we may be, we really want to go through each one of these, and there's already an intense amount of demand around this project. So we want to dive right in and talk about what makes this one so special. We're going to start with the location. The first reason that we're excited about Sugar Wharf is the location. It's a waterfront condominium at Yonge and Queens Quay. So give us a big rundown, Amit, on what's so special about this location?
The exact, specific area that we're talking about is actually now being called the Lower Yonge Precinct. So what that means is it's Yonge Street and Lower Jarvis, that area between there that's called the Lower Yonge Precinct. This development is actually right dead in the center of it. Now, historically, this were the LCBO land, so it's where LCBO was located for their main headquarters in downtown Toronto. That is the exact site of this development. Why this is so incredibly amazing is because of how close it is to not just for the financial district, but now the expansion of the financial district called the South Financial Core. The reason being is because as any city grows, the financial district is the first part that starts to expand. So this is a very, very key part of it because it's going to be literally next door to it. And pretty much soon it's going to be a larger extension of the South Financial Core.
So the South Financial Core is important here because, and again, you mentioned the financial district, which is traditionally at Bay and Adelaide. As office space there got fully occupied, businesses moving to Toronto needed office space still, and there was still this huge demand for prime office space. And where the South Financial Core came from is that the city decided that
we need
business core is going to stretch south, and that's where it started from. And the benefits of the South Financial Core are for the commercial. The companies is that you're in brand new spaces, often fitted with advanced technologies in terms high speed internet. They're built with the modern
LEED
certified. We are seeing a lot of companies now move their headquarters into the South Financial
whole
Core.
pocket.
A couple of my favorite examples are, number one, TELUS. Now TELUS is important because they previously had their headquarters in Scarborough. TELUS were one of the first major companies that decided this shift from the suburb headquarters to downtown. And since then, there's been a lot more, but they were sort of the catalyst. More recently, we had Sun Life Financial move into the Menkes building, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we've seen an expansion of this South Financial Core, and
PricewaterhouseCoopers building.
PricewaterhouseCoopers, RBC, Waterplace. There's been a huge growth.
There's more and more coming, as we see with, not in that area, but obviously the big thing in the news now is Tim Hortons going from their Oakville headquarters for 50 years into the downtown core, and more companies are coming, and they need places to go.
And the vacancy rate downtown for office spaces is tiny. So as it grows, we're going to get more of these.
This pocket, this stretch, this central waterfront stretch is becoming such a major economic hub for the city.
Just to cut you off, Amit, sorry, because we are going to talk about this in the next piece, but I do want to get back to the location portion, because what's important to understand here is it's important to understand what it's nearby. Like you're downtown, and you're close to so many of the major downtown amenities.
Union Station, Go Bus Terminal, Go Train,
ACC, Scotiabank Centre. Right now, is it?
They're going to be calling it the Scotiabank. Yeah, good call. Scotiabank Centre.
The
highway.
The highway.
Yeah,
The
transportation in and out of the city, obviously, of course.
It's a
And
killer
then
location.
waterfronts.
Of course. Yeah.
Because we kind of take that for granted in Toronto when we don't talk about waterfront, but then you're right on the waterfront as well.
Well, it's interesting you say the waterfront because it's another piece that's going through so much revitalization. Waterfront Toronto have come in and recognized that our waterfront needs a lot of work, and there's been a lot of work put into that. You talked about the young precinct.
Yeah, the lower young precinct.
Young precinct. Sorry. So give us a little bit of an overview of what to expect there.
Well, it's like I said, it's the stretch between Yonge Street and Lower Jarvis. Now, before there was basically three pockets that the city recognized needed development, and we talked about the first one, which was 1 Yonge by Pinnacle, which was the first one, which was in case anybody wants to check, is where the Toronto Star building is located. And there was the middle portion, which is Sugar Wharf, which historically was the LCBO headquarters. And then the final piece is, right now, it's the Loblaws. So these are the three major pockets, but the one that we're focusing on today is obviously the LCBO lands.
Yes, and that transitions really, really nicely into the number 2 reason that we're really excited about this particular building, the Sugar Wharf, is that it's a multi-phased master plan. We're not just building one tower at this location. It's
6. This is a big one.
It's huge.
6, yeah.
So before we talk about specifically what they're doing here, I think it's always important to go back and just sort of emphasize why buying early in a master plan is tried, trusted. It's one of the best investment strategies that we do all over and over again. And every time we get a master plan, we re-emphasize this because it's so important. And we can rattle off so many examples over the years where you buy the first, second, or third tower in a multiple phase building. So give us a quick rundown on that strategy and the idea behind getting in on the first building.
Sure. So I mean, what a master plan community generally means is that there's multiple residential towers coming. So what we always say is that each successive tower launch, the prices are obviously going to go up. So it's always better from an ROI standpoint, from an investment standpoint, to get in, at the very beginning stages, first tower, second tower type deal.
And when you've got these towers you know are coming, you've got that developer built-in appreciation that you're able to take advantage of.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's in a nutshell why we love master plans, and that works across the city, and we talk about this over and over again. But specifically this one. Talk to us about what's planned on this parcel.
This parcel? Yeah, absolutely. So this development is well and truly, and we've spoke about these a lot in the past, multifaceted, multi-phase developments. What Menkes are developing here is really a city within a city. There's going to be a total of 5 towers. Actually, sorry, 6 towers. The initial tower is actually a 25-story office building, which is going to be the LCBO, new headquarters of LCBO. And some amazing news is that they actually started shoring, I think, a month ago, and excavations have begun. So that's fantastic news. It's awesome to see, really, really exciting. And they did a whole thing around that. So that's begun. So that's the first tower. The best way to describe this development is in quadrants. So imagine a rectangle. The bottom right part is going to be the 25-story office building. In the top right corner is phase 1. Phase 1 will be 2 towers, 64 stories and 70 stories.
And they're the short ones.
They're the short ones. They're the short ones. Phase 2 is going to be 3 towers, 77, 87 and 90.
Amazing.
So I know what at the very beginning of this episode we talked about when we make recommendations to investors about multi-phase, multifaceted developments and whatnot. This development, alongside the other developments in this area, beside it, they're not just going to change the neighborhood, but they're going to change the skyline of Toronto.
Landscape changing.
Yeah, they're iconic.
Yeah, so going back, just to tie this in a little bit, you mentioned the Toronto Starlands.
Yes.
They're also going to be very tall towers. These are going to be very tall. Like, we're changing the postcard of Toronto.
Yeah.
These are going to have a huge impact on what the city, like you mentioned the skyline, obviously this is going to have a huge impact on, these are the the gateways into Toronto.
Yeah.
And it's very deliberate on where they put the tall towers.
Yeah.
Obviously, Toronto recognizes the important parcels, and you can see it throughout the city where they put the big density.
Yeah. The other on top of that, so it's not just a residential piece.
Yeah,
this whole
that's the important part.
The next part, so if you imagine a rectangle again, phase one was the top right corner. Top left will be 3 towers, which are going to be, like I said, 77, 87, and 90. The other amazing piece of this development is the 2-acre park. Now, they have not finalized on the designs as yet. They're still running various competitions with some of the top landscape architectures in Toronto. But 2 acres park, you don't see that. You don't see a developer giving back to the city.
I think and again, I think it's important to emphasize this. Like 2 acres of land in downtown Toronto,
huge.
The value attached to that 2 acres is
they could easily build 4 towers on that land.
Like it's hard to picture how much 2 acres is when, and it's hard to picture 6 towers. It's hard to understand the scope of the size of this project.
I know,
but 2 acres is
significant in downtown Toronto. It's significant given how we're seeing, towers being built on such small,
narrow,
parcels of land. A couple of other key things about this development that have me really, really excited. So it's not just the public element.
Well, before you jump in there, because I know where you're going with this, we talked in previous episodes about the pillars of what makes a great multi-phased community. It's not just about residential, but it's a mix of residential, commercial, which you mentioned, they've already got with the LCBO. There's other elements, public space, you mentioned, they're doing a 2-acre park, jobs. So it's a combination of all of these things, retail. It's a combination of all of these things that make a great community. It's not just condo. And again, so I know you.
The other couple of really key parts of this is, and this is one of those pieces that a lot of people tend to miss when it's not very accessible, but a grocery store. So there is plans for a grocery store within this community. Not only that, there's actually plans for a new elementary school. So you have to understand, so we talk about the towers, but we haven't touched on exactly how many residential units are going to be here. There's going to be 4,369 units. This is like a village in England. With a grocery store, with an elementary school. The other key thing here with this development is going to have path connection. Which is a killer piece. We talked about where this is located. We talked about the South Financial Core, we talked about Union Station, we talked about the North Financial District now.
We talked about the gateway to the city. Gateway. Well, path
but
is
now look
gateway.
at this. You can walk there underground when it's horrible weather as well.
6 months of the year.
Exactly. So, and you're right. We spoke about this with another development about the 5 pillars is what we've termed, and this checks all those boxes well, and even beyond.
Awesome. I want to transition into the third reason we're excited about this project, and it's a tough one to sort of put on a splash screen. But the reason we're excited is that there's so many parallels to a project called HARBOUR PLAZA Condos. So just a little bit of background. HARBOUR PLAZA is a condominium project that Menkes, we have a lot of our investors in there. They sold it in 2013. And the reason we're drawing these parallels is because HARBOUR PLAZA has turned out to be one of the best condominiums, full stop, and then condominium investments. And the reason I bring this up is because it's the same developer, it's Menkes Development. Both of them are multi-phase, so HARBOUR PLAZA was two towers and a commercial building. So again, very similar to what we're talking about Sugar Wharf. Sugar Wharf is obviously this
much grander scale.
At a much grander scale, but you've got that shared element of the commercial and the multi-phase residential.
As well as the expertise of building within the same community.
They are both connected by path network. And so there's so many elements here that do cross over. And I think it's important to make this parallel. One of the reasons I want to bring up this parallel is because the people who bought, and I want to share some numbers, and we're going to have this up on the screen as well so you can follow along. In 2013, and remember, we've got countless emails of people telling us back then that this is too expensive. Too expensive. The price per square foot was about $576. Okay.
Can you get that in Milton anymore?
I don't think you can get it in anywhere right now. But just stick with me for a minute. I pulled a unit that we sold to a client. It's on the 39th floor, so it's a high floor. So the price is already elevated. So 39th floor, facing the financial district. It's 565 square feet, and they paid $361,900.
Wow.
Okay. As an investment vehicle, and we talk about this a lot, pre-construction as an investment vehicle. So their down payment, assume, this is not what happened, but just assume, just to make this easier, that they put down 20% on day one.
Yeah.
Their 20% investment in 2013 would have been $72,000.
Yeah.
Today, if they wanted to flip this unit, we're commanding around $1,100 per square foot. So almost double the price that he paid.
Yeah.
So to break this down, so if he was to sell that unit today at that approximate $1,100 a foot, the new price from $361,900, price today would be $621,500. Now, to show that as an ROI, you've turned $72,000, which was your initial deposit.
Yeah.
That property has grown by $260,000, not including your initial investment. When you add your initial investment back, the return on investment over 5 years, we're talking
450%.
400%. Like I don't know anywhere that you could have put this $72,000.
And if you do, please let me know.
Yeah. I wish I had a time travel machine so I could go back and buy more.
Yeah.
So the investment vehicle here is so powerful because it's all leveraged money.
That's the key though, right? It's that 20%, it's that 72. We often get caught up looking at the overall purchase price.
Correct.
But it's the amount of built up appreciation up until that time.
Menkers are covering the bill for 5 years.
Yeah.
They're paying 80% for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you've got to remember. And that's where you see this such powerful, the equity growth that our clients have enjoyed here is just
heavily leveraged.
Incredible. Yeah. For the people who don't want to sell, a lot of our clients don't want to sell now because they recognize that Toronto is in.
We're always telling people, we're always telling the clients that, and we have been saying that for a number of years now. Look, price appreciation. If you're buying in certain neighborhoods where we recognize that there's a lot more to come. When I say more to come, means not just residential, but a lot of office, which means more jobs, more people want to be there in droves. When you have direct path connections and things like that, hold it for as long as you can.
So for those guys, the person who bought this unit for $360,000, I'm rounding down now just to keep it straightforward, but carrying costs, just doing math in my head very quickly on $360,000, that includes your mortgage payments at 20% down, your maintenance fees and your real estate taxes. You're in that sort of $1,600 to $1,700 a month.
Yeah,
give or take. Rents for this guy today is conservatively $2,100 to $2,200 a month.
Yep.
So you're cash flowing positive after paying down your mortgage. You're cash flowing $500-600 a month every single month.
Yeah.
Right. So when you start to break all this down and you look at the investment, and that's why I think it's so important to draw these parallels to Harbour Plaza.
Yeah.
It's becoming one of the best condominiums where demand to get into this building is extremely high, and we're seeing that because rents are getting picked up very fast, assignments are getting picked up very fast, and it's also important to note that the number I mentioned, $2,100 to $2,200 a month on rent, is during the occupancy phase where we do tend to see a little bit less.
It's not true market reflection.
Not true market. So by the time this closes, you'll see a bump.
It's very different. It's very different.
So I do think it's important to make these parallels. Obviously, this project is not Harbour Plaza, but it shares so many similarities that you can see where we're drawing these.
Yeah, and you can see eventually where it's going to be.
Correct. And if you want to get a sense of build quality, in sense of how much emphasis they put on the lobby. They've got the Banksy painting in there, which probably means not much to many people, but it's a big deal. The amount of quality of design that they put in through the path connection where the public enters and all these spaces, and you really get a sense of what they're doing here. The commercial space. LEED certified, anchor tenanted by Sun Life Financial. Like this is such a stunning building with the curtain wall windows. So
we're always trying to get people to think beyond just day one of
Correct.
the building. And for Harbour, just to bring it back, I know we talked about it a lot, but again, same parallels. 2013, we're looking at 2018. We're still not even at that day one aspect yet.
Correct.
And we have to look beyond day one to year 5, year 10. Older investors go, well, I'm going to be dead in 20 years. Okay, well, you have family, you have children. This is something that stays in the family for a long time. It's hard to have that really long-term vision when you're crunching the numbers, but this is just the potential of something on day one, year one.
100% right.
So, if you have more questions about Harbour Plaza, I do encourage the listeners to reach out to us, because I think there's a lot of shared elements there that I think it borrows from. And just in terms of location as well, it's basically a block away. This is York and Lakeshore versus Young and Lakeshore. So very, very important. The next reason that we're really excited for Sugar Wharf is, and we've touched on some of this already, but the scope of the redevelopment. Right? We've seen master plan communities where you've got a 20-story building and a 30-story building and a grocery store, but I think I really want to re-emphasize, we've mentioned it already, but the scope. I rattle off the heights again. I mean, just starting from there.
64 and 70 are going to phase 1. Yeah. So bring back that rectangle again. It's the top right quadrant, 64, 70, and then the top left part will be 3 towers, 77, 87, and 90, for a grand total of, and this may change, but for now, I've been told it's 4,369 residential units.
Which is huge, and again, I think so we've been selling condos for a long time now. We've seen a lot of master plan communities, and in terms of the size of this redevelopment, it's one of the biggest, not necessarily by acreage, but definitely by suite count and story. Like, I mean, if you add the stories up, over 400 story building. Right? I didn't do the math, but I'm just.
But it's not just that; it's the elements that are involved with this master plan. It is that in a nutshell. I mentioned it's basically a village. They're building a village within a city here.
And how often do you get that opportunity in this kind of location for this scope of project? I think that's the big thing.
That's really important, because this location, I encourage people to look on Google Maps where this site is.
It really is a once in a lifetime kind of location. It really is.
Yeah, just at the base of Young, your walking distance to your walking distance to the financial district. You're gonna have path connection. The development itself is gonna have grocery stores. I'm going to touch on this again, but grocery store, retail pavilion. There's a big emphasis on retail here, and something that we didn't mention before, but Menkes, huge history, amazing developer, but they have a lot of pull when it comes to commercial tenants.
We're going to touch on that.
Next point.
So let's skip right into that. Okay.
Sure.
So let's jump into that. Number 5 reason that we're so excited about Sugar Wharf Condos is the developer. Menkes development. Now, we talk about developers a lot. And again, to sort of take it back to something I said at the beginning of this video, the reason we get excited about certain developers is because A, they make our clients money. B, they make our lives easy. C, they make our clients' life easy. I always love sharing a couple of my favorite Menkes anecdotes. I have one of our very good clients has bought multiple units with us. The first building that closed was with another developer, and he had not such a great experience. And we knew about all the bumps along the way. By contrast, he did his PDI for Menkes. I know he was nervous going up to it. He said, "I don't want to go through this again." I said, "You're in good hands." He went to the he went to the PDI, and he made the point to call me afterwards and say, "Roy, I had such an amazing experience at this PDI. Everything was top notch. Everything was handled." And to get that phone call was a great feeling for me, and I immediately shared it with the team. Another anecdote I have is we had one of our clients had a PDI. I don't remember the exact day, but say it was a Wednesday. I get a call a couple of days before from one of the managers there, and they say, "Roy, do you mind if we move the appointment by one day?" And I say, "Why, is everything okay?"
Day after.
Can we move it one day
after
on a Thursday instead of the Wednesday? I said, "Is everything okay?" He says, "Everything's fine, but Menkes went through the suite, and it didn't meet their standards. It
wasn't clean enough.
It wasn't clean enough. We need to get another cleaner through and make sure it's spotless for the investors, because they recognize when they spent this much money, they're walking into the suite for the first time. That initial, you've got to feel proud.
The white glove treatment.
White glove treatment, right? And we say this all the time. We deal with so many developers, and that kind of treatment and that kind of attention to the minuscule details, it doesn't happen very often.
No. And it reflects within the rest of the building and the community. If they're that...
Not just that, it reflects a lot on the developer as well. That they genuinely care.
And I mentioned at the top of the episode that there's a lot of savvy investors out there, and when they see Menkes, it immediately checks a big box.
Yeah.
And it's these are the reasons why, and people know that, and these kinds of stories get shared. Another reason we always like to talk about the developer, especially in today's pre-construction climate, where knowing who you're buying from is more important than ever before.
Absolutely.
They've been in business for 60 years. They're a third-generation company. One of the big things about Menkes is that it doesn't necessarily look great on a glossy brochure, but being in the industry, we know how important it is that Menkes are vertically integrated, and they have their own construction company.
Yeah, in-house. Yeah.
So the importance of that is that instead of hiring
third parties,
another company to build your tower, you're in control of every aspect of that. Timelines are important. You're not waiting for another company to finish the previous tower before they move on to yours. And I mean, we were looking at the HARBOUR PLAZA closing dates. Occupancy was scheduled on day one of signing as May 2018, and to the day they were actually early. They were so all of these things point to why we get excited.
A lot of experience.
So another area of experience is that it's not just a residential builder. And we're going to see why that's so important. Talk to me about that element of it.
Yeah, well, Sugar Wharf itself, we mentioned that there's so many. It's not just residential. It's varied. There's a lot of elements. We talked about the office component, which, like I said, mentioned before, amazing thing that they've started excavating already. That's amazing. So they've got experience in office. They've got experience in retail pavilion at this development. Obviously residential. So those are the three key areas that they're probably the leading developers in retail. And then there's other areas that they're not going to be part of this development, but they've helped
show the scope of the development.
Obviously, but they have a lot of experience in industrial side of it as well. So and then on top of that, they've got a lot of experience on low rise, so detached houses, semi-detached houses, right across the GTA, and then obviously high rise developments as well.
You mentioned that they're very experienced in commercial and retail. I want to emphasize why that's so important. Again, I'm going to draw a parallel with other developers that may not have the same reach or
pull we were talking about earlier.
Very, very important. Like, we've seen other retail pavilions from other builders that you don't end up with the best companies because they don't have that relationship. Menkes do have that relationship with these builders from years, many, many years. When it comes to commercial space, you want to be working with, Menkes have those relationships and the pull to be working with the best companies to bring in the best.
They also have the name, the recognition as well. For those individuals who have never perhaps worked with Menkes, to know that yes, this is the developer to work with when it comes to perhaps leasing a space within one of their existing towers.
And I think it's important to name a few projects that people may be familiar with. We've obviously named HARBOUR PLAZA. 365 Church was another one launched a few years ago, incredibly successful for our investors. 770 Bay and College, which is one of the most competitive neighborhoods in downtown Toronto, but 770 Bay, which was a building that they built a number of years ago, but it still remains one of the most sought after in terms of price per square foot and rental demand. They built the Four Seasons. They were arguably the best building in downtown Toronto, most luxurious building in downtown Toronto, the Four Seasons Hotel and residences. So, when you start to look at this scope of projects, you quickly realize why we get excited.
The portfolio is very impressive.
For sure. So I think we got across how excited we
Oh,
are.
how much we love Menkes here.
Not Menkes and the development,
everything.
There's so many check boxes here, right? And like I said at the top of the episode, there's already an intense amount of demand in this condominium, and when you break down the reasons why, it's very easy to see and understand why that is.
We've been very excited about this area, and when you meet us in person, we will share that exact same excitement. It's true.
Our voice volume goes up when we talk about this.
You kind of geek out on it a bit, but it's definitely important. It's one of those ones where
the once in a lifetime opportunities. Not for, see, the thing is, we always miss this, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to work on these. Because it's not very often you get to work on these kinds of developments.
Well, we talked about scope as a point, right? And we're getting off the path a little bit, but it is important, and these big towers that are coming to Toronto that are elevating the city as a whole, 80, 90 story towers, and they're going to change the way we think about the city moving forward. So
absolutely.
I think that's everything we got for now. We're obviously very, very excited for Sugar Wharf, and for investors who are looking for this for something great to put your money into. We highly recommend this project, and we can't wait to work with you on Sugar Wharf.